So who are you?
I'm Jeremiah Owyang, partner at the Altimeter Group.
Yeah, and is this the first time we've had you on the show?
Yeah.
I think so. It's way too long, man.
It's been a long time. In fact,
you've been ripping up the industry lately.
I have a proof of your book, an early draft, and you signed it for me in 2005. So that's how long that you and I have been going at this space.
Crazy.
It's been a long time.
And who are you sitting with?
Well, I'm Ray Wang. I look at enterprise strategy for Altimeter Group.
Yeah. And first of all, what is Altimeter Group? I know what it is, but most of my audience probably doesn't know what you've done lately. You know?
So Ray and I both used to work at Forrester, and about 3 months ago, we joined the Altimeter Group, which is founded by Charlene Li, and also Deborah Schultz is a partner as well. And we're doing a lot of different things. So management consulting and strategy, and also the similar stuff we did at Forrester. So analysis and research as well.
Yeah. Out of everybody I meet with, you meet with more companies than I think anybody but maybe Arrington does. You know, you certainly get inside companies and visit with them for 4 to 8 hours, right? And really understand what they're doing, and that's why I like hanging around you, because you have this view of the industry that's pretty unparalleled. Industry.
My goal is to look at industry perspective, but at the same time, I refer to you for the technology side. So we fit both sides of the coin. So we look at the same types of things, but in a different angle. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking at the large trends that are happening right now, Robert. And this is where Ray and I meet up. Is what I see happening is the big companies are trying to catch up to the customers that have left them, and they don't visit the corporate websites. They use the social tools out there. Yeah. So one of the areas that I see happening is companies are trying so hard to keep up. The interesting trend is that things are moving faster and faster, and consumers and customers and people are exchanging information at a more rapid pace, and companies cannot even keep up with that. So what I often like to say is that real time for companies isn't fast enough. So when we see companies responding to customers in real time, sometimes that's not enough. Yeah. And it escalates. Like for example, Deuce, Heather Armstrong, she called the support line for Whirlpool Maytag and said, I don't like my washer and dryer, it's not working well. And she said, I'm on Twitter, will you help me? And they're like, no, it doesn't matter if you're on Twitter or not. She goes, well, I have 1 million followers on Twitter. And I said, that doesn't matter. And she said, okay, fine. Then she started tweeting about the horrible experience she had and to her millions of followers, and then it became mainstream press and news. Yeah. Maytag responded within 9 hours. I looked at the record, and that just wasn't fast enough for them to keep up. So it's a big conundrum for them. Yeah. What do you think, Ray?
You almost have to be predictive and know what people are going to say to you tomorrow, right?
You do. And then on the other hand, companies, the pace of adoption is much slower than the pace of change. Yeah. So just as people are thinking about these big 3 to 5 year plans, things have changed again, and they've just finished implementing. And so they can't keep up with what's happening in the marketplace, and so they're looking for ways to deploy much faster.
Is having a 3-year plan smart today? I mean, it seems like the world changes every 3 weeks lately.
Maybe an 18-month plan. I mean, look, Facebook. What was Facebook 3 years ago? A couple students in college in a dorm room.
Yeah. One of the books, you have it hidden by your altimeter there, is Behind the Cloud by Mark Benioff, Salesforce. And he just a few weeks ago announced Chatter, which is like a Facebook copy inside Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of those kinds of moves? Because that's what you focus on, right? Is how is the enterprise changing?
I do.
How are people working differently today?
I'll talk about the features, but I'll defer to Ray for the larger picture. Chatter is not original. So
yeah, it's a copy of Facebook.
Yeah, Jive, Intelligent, and Mazinga and Awareness already have community platforms and collaboration, and social text too. Already have all these features that are available in the enterprise. The interesting thing, I think, though, that makes it unique, if it ever comes to market, it doesn't exist yet, right? It's just a promise.
It's coming next year.
Yeah, is that it's connected with that single profile in Salesforce. So that's key. You have that single login that already exists. Yep. And then the second thing is that it wasn't positioned well at Dreamforce, but it's really a platform like Facebook platform where you can build applications across it. It's horizontal. It's not a vertical thing. But what do you think about that trend of this, Ray?
Well, the good news is that companies that are on Salesforce.com are much more innovative than what they would be on SAP or Oracle or some of the older products. So what you're seeing right off the bat is this much more innovative set of people that are going to go out and play and experiment that in the enterprise. And the 3 things that enterprises are looking for, things that are safe, secure, and scalable. And those are things Salesforce has been able to achieve. So in the big picture, they're going to get a lot more adoption than people that are working as best of breeds on the edges, but that doesn't mean they're going to have the market to themselves.
Yeah, well, it's certainly, for Jive and Salesforce, it certainly is one of the big vendors that enterprises know and deal with all the time, saying, hey, social is important now. That was my takeaway from being at Salesforce's conference. Benioff spent hours talking about Facebook and Twitter.
And even brought Twitter on stage, trying to show we were relevant. Yeah. They recognize this change.
And they also bring pricing pressure to the market, right? Because they already are making a lot of money in the enterprise, and then they can give away lots of seats for free to get chatter out there.
I think they're giving away chatter for free. If that's the
to non-salespeople, right? Because you get it for free with Salesforce.com. All your salespeople are going to need Salesforce.com, right? And everybody else will get it for free. That's what Benioff said at the TechCrunch real-time crunch up.
Well, the end game is sell more storage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in this space, it's really about being able to, fill more databases, fill more licenses there, and for that, I mean, you're getting more interaction history, you're getting more profile information, and you're going to want to be able to tie that back.
Yeah. How do the social text and Jives deal with a big elephant moving into the room now? How do they shuck and jive? How do they prove that they have a better product?
Don't forget, there's another elephant, which is SharePoint.
Yep.
But those smaller players have been able to outmaneuver these incumbents because they have better feature set. They can deploy without the CIO even being involved, because the business unit can just buy it. So Salesforce and SharePoint, they usually go through the PMO office in the IT group. So, but in the case of Jive, social text, these can be done by any marketing or sales or HR person.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think one of the things that we're talking about and that I'm going to write about next week is really the fact that in SaaS application strategies, you don't want to go through the best of breed hell we did in the 90s. And I think we're just about there, because SaaS allows people to choose all these different options, point to point. Business guys are going out buying this stuff. IT guys are waking up saying, oh my God, where do we find this stuff? How can we have this running? And the integration nightmare is just about to happen. So I think where Salesforce has a play is the fact that it's on one platform, it's on force.com, and by being there, it allows customers to say, okay, at least I can rationalize some of my portfolio. Now, does that mean it's a better product? No. We don't know for sure. The best of breeds typically, as Jeremiah was saying, do a much better job. So there will be cases for best of breeds, but it's making it easier for people to stick with Salesforce.
Oh yeah. What you focus a lot on the SaaS, the cloud computing stuff. What are you seeing happen there? I mean, I'm interested because I work at Rackspace, but what are you seeing happen? Who are the winners there, and what are going to be the trends in 2010?
I think the big winners are people who are looking at the hybrid deployments and the integration vendors.
What do you mean by hybrid deployment?
On-premise information, that's not going to go away. Not everything's going to move to the cloud, but all the new stuff, just as we're talking about, all the edges, the best of breed solutions, what you're going to do to move any infrastructure costs that you can, that's moving into the cloud for sure, right? So that is one piece, and then the integration, right? How do I tie, as Jeremiah was saying, profile information in the consumer space back to stuff that's technically in enterprise space? And one of the things that we talk about all the time is that notion of B2B and B2C, that's dead, right? It's really the relationships and the context of everything around it. So who are you really?
Yeah.
Right? Is there like are you the real person you say you are, and in what context are we having this relationship?
Do you like GIST then? A dashboard that tells me a lot about you and tells me about your context, both at work and at play?
I think we're going to see more of that. Right? Salespeople are going to be targeting things like that to understand profiles, to realize that you also sit on a board of another company, but you're also a consumer, but you're also a avid Twitter person who's got huge followers in photography, who also follow something else, and they're going to be looking for all those relationships.
So I started a list on my blog, Robert, and I'll send it to you. Maybe put it in the show notes. And we're tracking between the two of us this what we call the social CRM space. So we already talked about Salesforce; those are the incumbents, but the community platforms, Jives, Intelligence, and Lithiums, they're putting this CRM features on there. Then the brand monitoring folks like Radian6 are doing this as well. And then there's these people that are scraping your inbox and kind of like what you did at Facebook with Blackso. They're trying to map out your social graph. So we see all these different companies trying to approach the same problem.
Well, and Facebook told me last week at the Web that they're going to become an identity company.
Yeah,
They're not a
definitely.
social network anymore.
That's right.
They want to be seen as an identity company that you use for all sorts of different
right.
things, and not on Facebook anymore.
Experience. The promise that they're trying to do is wherever you go, your Facebook friends come with you, in the context of their identity.
And the face-off's going to happen with Facebook versus LinkedIn, because who do you trust in what context?
Well, I think Google
What
and
about
Microsoft.
PayPal? Because PayPal has my credit card, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's a heavy piece of identity. But Facebook said, hey, we actually know more about you than PayPal
That's right.
does, and
But
PayPal has your wallet already.
But PayPal doesn't have your friends.
And that was their answer, right?
Right.
Yep.
Facebook has your friends. There's ways you can monetize people, not just with their credit card.
Yeah.
Attention and clicks, those are all monetized through a third party.
And then on the LinkedIn side, it's the business relationships. If you're looking for a job, if you're looking for a referral, if it's something technical, you're going to trust LinkedIn more. It's got a higher trust factor on the business side.
Interesting. So what else is hot and shining out there in the worlds that you're watching?
Yeah, so another trend, I'd like to start at the high level, and then we can talk about the specific technologies around it. But so in the past, we've had like asynchronous data, slow data. Blogs now feel slow.
Yeah.
Or slower.
I'm not using RSS readers anymore. I
put that away as well. I definitely put that as well. Most of my traffic is coming from Twitter. So that's the second piece, is real-time data is here. And we already see this, and I can see you and Lisa Baroni having conversations today in real time. And then the next thing that's coming, and it's not here yet, well, I guess it's been around, is what I call intention web. Intention data.
What do you mean by that?
Intentions. What are your plans that you want to do in the future? Now, I actually looked back in the archives, and I think Doc Searles was one of the first people to blog about this in '06, but it's becoming more and more relevant now. So take Plancast or upcoming.org or Facebook events. You say you're going to do something in the future. Now, that's actually very important data, because companies, media, advertisers can figure out how to make their experience better knowing what they're planning to do.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing I see coming.
I still like the serendipity of checking in on Foursquare and not knowing what to do in Paris, and just seeing all these tips, across the street is a great bakery, around the corner is a bar, there's a library down the street, and because I don't know what I want to do tomorrow, much less what I want to have for lunch today. So I check in here after this, and we'll figure out what bar to go to or what restaurant to go to. I don't know that I can plan out,
Yeah, but you did indicate that you're going to Paris prior to that.
That's true.
So a smart company would be listening and say, well, we know Robert likes cameras and technology, and he likes cafes, and so let's try to get him that experience that he wants.
Interesting.
Or find a good sushi restaurant.
Yeah.
There you go. He loves sushi, yeah.
Not in Paris, man.
French Nouveau sushi.
We had extraordinary meals there. What else is going to happen in 2010? Mobile. We haven't even hinted on mobile yet. Are you guys thinking about what?
We are placing bets in mobile.
Tell me.
Well, we're probably going to grow the company in that area. I can't talk about that, but that's definitely an area we're going to place bets in.
Yeah.
That's clearly where an access point where people are going to see information and taking it with them.
Mobility on the enterprise side is going to be hot. I mean, that's going to be the word. Devices are going to happen, transactions are going to happen, even device-to-device interactions is what's hot as well. So just listening and complex event processing, stuff that tells you that, hey, everything's fine, proactive maintenance. So the ability to go, smart meters, smart devices, sending back signals, and passing on that sentient kind of technologies and monitoring, that's another big area.
So BlackBerry or iPhone in the enterprise, what do you think, Ray?
iPhone.
Really?
We're headed that way. It comes down to this, right? iPhone is the equivalent to apps exchange, right? A lot of apps, easy to build on.
You don't think Android's going to sneak in there?
Oh, it could. But the question was iPhone versus BlackBerry.
Yeah.
So Android, iPhone, or BlackBerry, I think that's going to be an interesting battle. But who's got the easiest platform to build on, right? Versus BlackBerry and SAP, which nice platforms, very deep, but very hard to build on. And that barrier just takes away the innovation. Yeah. So how are you going to drive that? So I'd have to bet on iPhone and any platform that's easier to build on.
I don't think there's going to be a winner take all in the mobile. BlackBerry versus Android versus iPhone. They'll all fight and take a little bit of market share away from each other, but none's going to come out and dramatically take everything. Right? It's not a winner take all. It's not like Windows.
Will there be a play where the apps can move from here to there in the data? I mean, we see these little pockets emerge and all these little technology things. where a bunch of vendors appear, there's no standards, and then 10 years later there's standards. So,
What was it, the Apple Pad?
Yeah.
Could be the tablets.
Yeah, I think that'll be a niche play still. I'm going to be first in line for that for an Apple tablet. I'll put that down.
You're gonna spend the
So
night?
for me, it'll be a big deal. It'll be hyped because me and Arrington will have it, and you'll have one. But I don't think normal people are going to carry around a device that's this big. I think normal people are really happy with a device that fits in their pocket, a BlackBerry, an iPhone, an Android device.
But I'm thinking enterprise. In the enterprise, I'm clicking, I want to get a signature, I want to draw out some diagrams, I'm throwing out some ideas, I'm in a meeting.
A tablet
I send
makes
someone
sense
a
for
tablet.
meetings.
I mean, it's like Star Trek.
You think Apple's really going to have a chance at doing that?
Well,
Yeah,
unless
that's
the
true.
Gestapo come and talk to me, but
I think Apple, where Apple's going to disrupt things is newspapers and magazines and TV, right? Because when you're at home, this is a coffee table device that you're going to use to interact with media in yet another way.
Well, if you sit around BJ's long enough and Sushi Kuni, I would tell you that there's a lot of stuff going on.
BJ's the restaurant right in front of Apple, right?
Yeah, exactly, the bar. So.
Here's something we were arguing just on our blogs last night. Web on iPhone versus apps on iPhone. You know, which is going to seem to be a trend? Or are they going to be equal? Or are they?
So this is so egotistical, but there's a company called Mother App, and they said, Jeremiah, we want to build an iPhone app for you, for your web strategy brand that imports your blog and your tweets and whatever else I want in there, photos. So they built one for me, Solis Kawasaki, and Tim Ferriss, and Brian Morrissey at Adweek, was saying how we're very egotistical, but it's a better experience of consuming it because when you're holding your device, it's really not about surfing. It's about aggregating and should be coming in and doing that in there. By the way, where's the Scobel app?
It's coming.
Okay. So I think
this is how Apple's going to get to 200,000 apps, right? They're going to build blogger apps for everybody.
I think it's going to be apps. I really think it's going to be apps.
I disagree.
Tell me why.
Because there's magic in iteration. And like if your app needs to change for some reason, you need a retweet button or something added to it. You have to wait for 3 weeks for it to be approved. If I build my app in a web page and I have people add it to their UI using the web page interface, I can iterate it every day. I can iterate it every hour, and that's very powerful. Next Stop, I just interviewed them, and they just went the web page route. So did upcoming.org. So did TechMeme. And there's lots of them who are going the web page route because they know that they're not going to get into the top 100 apps, which if you're not in the top 100 apps, you're not going to get distribution advantages of having an app.
Yeah.
Right. And so.
But it's a served up experience. I think there's value in that.
I disagree. There's ways to cache the data. They were showing me ways to cache the data locally, even in the web app. And I'm sure the web browser is going to evolve. They said that what they were doing today wasn't possible 6 months ago because Apple didn't have the APIs to allow them to do what they're doing with the web.
Disconnected support is getting better, and being able to do that will allow you to move it that way. But I'm going to side with Jeremiah here because having that presence on the screen is enough. Because you're accessing that, even if it's 3 weeks late, you still have that access point and you've got the real estate. So
interesting.
If Apple makes it easier for things to update by having. What they could do is crowdsource the approval process. There's ways they could to make it faster. So if that's the hinge on innovation, I think that can be fixed.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see what that team does because they know that they're under pressure to get things approved faster. You were just in the Middle East.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. So I was invited to go to Qatar. It's spelled Qatar, and the city's Doha, and it's very small, very wealthy.
Yeah.
So they
lots of oil money. We ship our oil money over there every day, right?
And the blog it was the first conference for bloggers, and it was sponsored by the government. And they know they need to reach out and connect with the rest of the world. That's part of the mission, because what happens when oil runs out, or it's just better to build other types of industries, finance and things. So I got to meet some of the top bloggers, and it reminds me of where you and I were 3 years ago in blogging. So that's to them is like the big thing. They're not even worried about Twitter or Facebook yet. It comes up in conversation, but that's really where they're focused at. So it's interesting to see, you travel the world a lot too, so it's to see how companies and cultures are adopting a little bit differently than in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, we built a high-tech culture that's worldwide. It's really cool. You know, just the other night I was arguing with somebody in Tel Aviv, right? You know, from San Francisco, and we were arguing about Foursquare and GoWalla, which are Austin, Texas companies and New York companies, and people all over the world chimed in. Hey, I'm in Indonesia, and I'm in Colombia, and I'm in UK, and I'm following this argument too, and it's a fun world. What about video? HD video certainly came big time.
What's interesting, and I'm hoping to see numbers from Google eventually, is like, are they monetizing these videos? Because you start to see they're putting ads and pre-rolls on videos now. Yeah. So that is really interesting to see, and we know that YouTube is the second largest search engine, so my God, it's here. But this actually scares the media companies. So a lot of them are pulling their video back, and they're saying, why do we want to give it to YouTube where we can monetize it on our own? Like, you're using a different player, right?
I'm using YouTube, and we're on Blip.
Yeah, I saw your Blip ones, much higher quality. Yeah. So media companies are saying, well, I'm just going to put, so let's imagine it's a dinner, right? So I'm just going to put appetizers out there on YouTube, but the entrees I'm going to put on my media site so they come back, and then the behind-the-scenes stuff they can pay for, like the desserts, right? So media companies are working with launching their own players now, so they can put it on their site and control that better, and then put ads and have better metrics and analytics around it. Yeah. They're not so wanting to just give it all up.
Yeah. On the enterprise side, video is being used for everything from training to collaboration to knowledge sharing, and I think that's picking up a lot. So, it's really, people are trying to figure out their bandwidth strategies now. All of a sudden, all these videos are popping up, and corporations are wondering, how are we going to support all this?
So to go back to your comment about Cisco, so Cisco invested money in buying 5 Across and Tribe, and so their product emerged.
And they bought the flip cam.
Yeah, let's talk about that too.
Still a vertical integration here.
So they launched a product last year called EOS, Cisco EOS, and it's basically a community platform for media companies where you put your videos on it. You actually might want to take a look at it, Robert. Okay. And that's intended, it puts obviously more bits on the pipe, and it makes sense for that whole strategy for Cisco, and video is great for that. But the flips, what's your take on that?
It's a great way to sell routers. Right? Because everybody needs more bandwidth now. I mean, I'm trying to upload HD video to YouTube, which is great when you can get it up. But you get a gigabyte video, and now all of a sudden your little broadband pipe ain't so broadband anymore. So tell me a little bit about your new company. What are you guys doing, and who do you want to talk to?
Yeah, well, a lot of our clients tend to be larger organizations, and we're helping them with, well, I like this metaphor. So imagine a company, you might explain it a little differently. Imagine a company has to build a house for their customers. I focus on the customer strategy. So really what we help them do is we're the trusted architects that help them design the plans, and then also we're like the general contractor. We help them find the right people that are actually going to build the pieces in the house and things like that. So we're not an agency per se that you might see Razorfish or Ogilvy, but we really are trusted advisors to our clients. Ray?
But what we want to do with that house is take all the new stuff, the disruptive technologies, like maybe we're going to solar panel the house, maybe we're going to use flash heating, maybe we're going to do these things that are really going to change the experience of that house, make it unique, give a competitive advantage there, change that ownership as well. So those disruptive technologies that make a difference will go into this house. Our job is to guide them through the ones that make sense based on what they're looking for. And so that's the kind of people we're trying to attract, that's the kind of companies we're trying to assist. Those guys are sitting at the edge of innovation saying, all right, we are in the middle of a slump. This is probably one of the worst recessions we'll ever see. But that being said, we're still here. So those companies that are investing in that disruptive technologies, those are the ones that we're going to help guide, we're going to help lead, and hopefully provide a perspective on how to get there to the other side.
Right.
So,
for 2010, more blogging or less? More Twitter or more Facebook?
More real-time information, less blog posts, but more meatier blog posts with insights and recommendations. So,
So we're going to see you more on Facebook?
Probably more on Twitter.
More on Twitter?
Probably more on Twitter. And then all the apps that are spinning off of that is where to watch. So,
since we're talking about Twitter, last question, what do you think Twitter's going to do? Because they're clearly trying to add more metadata around.
Yeah, they are. And looks like what they're doing to monetize it is selling that metadata and data to Google and Microsoft. So it's become a data play for them. They're a platform. It's a data platform, and that's probably a smart thing because let's be honest, they are unable to innovate features fast enough that people want. And that's why CodeTweet and TweetDeck and Seismic takes off, because they have the features that Twitter's unable to provide. They're just too slow. So to be a data play seems to make sense.
Yeah, I mean, definitely information exchange. The stuff that they have, it's a brand new channel. I remember looking at one of the old folders when I was working at Forrester, and a big binder that said, the internet. Do we cover it? What do we do with this? Who's going to use this? Are people going to buy it? I mean, it's the same thing that we're going through each technology adoption. But with Twitter, it's a brand new channel, and people are just getting used to the tools and how to use it, when to use it, and what will be a good enterprise and business purpose.
To wrap it up, why did you leave Forrester, this big company? You had a great brand there. Why did you two guys leave this trusted brand and start your own thing?
The great thing about Forrester, and I'm very happy about it, is you get to see the lay of the land, and you get to see where all the trends are. And I saw where the trends are going, and now I want to dive in deeper and have a little deeper relationships with that space that I want to focus on. So I'm placing bets on social CRM. I'm placing bets on mobile social networks and mobile devices, where that's going, based upon what I saw from the industry perspective, and spending more time as a consultant now, in addition to the research.
Yeah, I mean, Forrester's a great training ground. You see a lot of the different topics. The areas we're covering are at the intersections of all these things, whether it's a topic, whether it's someone's role, whether it's an industry, and we see that's where the innovation's happening. And so, we wanted to go out and attack those, and that's why we're adding a mobile guy. We're looking at public sector and clean tech. There are other number of areas that we see as emerging, and just to sit down with 3, 4 other smart people and say, let's just create a new space, or let's go out and figure out how customers are using that new space. That's really what's driving, Altimeter.
Well, thanks so much to both of you for
Thanks, Robert. Good seeing you.
telling me about what you're seeing going into 2020.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Thanks.